Welcome back to New Amsterdam Radio, the podcast for creators. It is I, the mayor, Flobo Boyce, in the mayor's office. But as always, I'm not alone. I'm hanging out with people who are doing the dang thing. And my guest today is doing it from the north, the 6th, Toronto, baby.
Yes,
a place
sir.
I've been to not once, but twice. I got to give it to the host of the Dad Strength podcast, Geoff Girvitz. Was that close? Was I on
That
it?
was
it nailed?
beautiful. That was rare and wonderful. Thank you. Nice to be on.
How was life going out there? I only been to Toronto twice around this time of year. It was sticky as all heck. Is that still the case?
That is consistent. Oh yeah. It is hot. It is humid. It's my city.
Well, yeah, born and raised.
I'm from out west. I'm from Calgary, which is kind of like Texas, Canada.
Okay, I heard about that. Yeah. That Alberta side. I love it. I'm a big wrestling fan too. A lot of my favorite wrestlers are from Calgary.
Oh man, are we talking about like Bad News Allen, aka Bad News Brown?
Yeah, that's a
how old
Bad News
are you?
How old do I look, good sir?
Oh, not a day over 29.
I turned 37 last month, but yeah, that's
Okay.
pretty much it. So Bret Hart and all that stuff. They had that whole Stampede promotion in that area.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was so glad to be able to go out to Canada on a business trip a couple years ago. Spent most of my days at the Steam Whistle Brewery tour. They let you like pull a little whistle from out of town. Pretty awesome. Okay,
Solid bear.
Let's talk about what makes you amazing. So I came across your podcast first, and then I came across your listing on a podcasting connecting platform. Talk to me about the Dad Strength podcast, because to me, Dad Strength meant something specifically completely different growing up. That's like you can't beat your dad because he has dad strength.
Exactly
but
right.
You're taking a different angle with it.
Yeah, I mean, that's my memory. My dad used to take delight in crushing the grips of my friends when they'd come. When they come over, when I trained Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, often guys would be like, a 20-year-old who trained, 15 hours a week would be getting smoked by, a middle-aged guy, and everybody would just kind of elbow each other and go, yeah, he's got dad strength.
Mm-hmm.
So there's something wily and something wiry and resilient about it, and so, for me, I'm right here. I guess folks who can see it, I'm in my gym. Downtown in Toronto. And I think about, at the core, I think of showing up as a dad is mindfulness. We're just, everybody I talk to wants to be present more, to be tuned in more. And so rather than go through, all right, meditate or whatever sort of the conventional wisdom is, which is all great. And I think we should do, I want to lower the barriers to this, and I think through health behaviors, and it doesn't have to be amazing. You need like a B-
right.
in all these dimensions, and that will kind of clear the blockages, clear the frictions, and allow you to just maximize your chances of showing up, being present, being tuned in when you're with your family, when you're doing your things.
Yeah. Was that a thing that was a generational thing as it was for you, like it was for me? Like dad worked hard, he provided, but after a long day at work, he just wanted to like watch the game. You know what I mean? He wanted to be on the
100%.
cows and just like be amongst himself. And you're saying that maybe that's kind of product of what work was back then.
Yeah, I think we're all the way we parent is a product of how we were parented. We're all sort of reacting in a way to what worked for us, what didn't work for us. We really remember that stuff. My dad had a tough childhood. His home was physically abusive, was verbally abusive. The fact that he didn't hit us was an amazing stride forward generationally. However, he still had a lot of stuff he was dealing with, and he worked hard, and he saw his role as provider and took that really seriously, but he was so stressed out. And so and didn't know how to relax and didn't have self-care behaviors, so he just kind of was hanging on. He had a quick temper. He was a loving father. I felt loved and I felt taken care of, but yeah, it was tough to have a chill conversation. Is that your experience?
Yeah, very, very similar. Like my dad shook my hand at 24, and I was like, "Oh wow, this is affection." I was like, "This is dope." But it's not all about that. It's about providing, right? Sometimes you mentioned just a minute ago, co-founder of Bang Personal Training up there in Toronto. I'm saying up there. I'm from Los Angeles for those who don't know. Up there sounds like you're like literally above me. What's that like, having the entrepreneurial side? Because it's not just a 9 to 5, hit the little like steam whistle thing and then hit to go home. You are thinking about your business outside of traditional business hours.
Yeah, good callback to Steam Whistle Beer, by the way.
Hey,
Hey, uh, okay, so I opened this place in 2008, so it's been 14 years, and I don't mind telling you that when I opened it, I had no idea what I was doing, and I think every entrepreneur is in part filled with this incredible sense of optimism and ignorance.
oh
Otherwise,
yeah,
we just wouldn't do it. Like if I knew what I was getting into, I can't honestly say, for sure I would have done this. So at first, you're working 60-hour weeks to do anything. You're pulling every lever, you're pressing every button, anything that will make it work. And so much of it is inefficient. But efficiency isn't everything. You learn, you get better, you get faster at doing these things, and eventually, I mean, for me, a lot of it was just the confidence of eventually finding my own vision. Like, I can put it this way: I had years of martial arts that was really important for me. I was never a gym guy, really.
yeah.
But I remember going back when I was 16, I got into martial arts, and I remember thinking, this is the hardest I've ever worked at anything in my life. And only connecting the dots looking back do I realize that it was, and this is an ADHD thing, but it was the first time I was truly capable of working hard because I needed that level of physical exercise in order for my mind to work the way I needed it to work. So that has always been sort of a core of what I'm doing. It's not to have the biggest bench press per se, but just to live well, um, to be able to focus, to be able to regulate emotions, right? To
Mhm.
not be a chronic ball of stress. All this is really important. So in the early years, I was a little bit shy about bringing my own self out of it. I wanted to look professional and I wanted to be structured and kind of look like the stuff people were used to seeing. And it was only kind of as a, I don't know, as a sophomore, I guess, that I began to start thinking, okay, I can bring more of myself out of it. And the more I've done that, the more, first of all, the better it's felt as a
Yeah,
business, and the
yeah.
more I've been able to connect to the people I really want to connect with. And so at this point, you're never going to be a billionaire running a community gym. However, what I have been able to do is bootstrap my time, build an amazing staff. I'm making hard eye contact with one of my guys right now. Exactly, and have these wonderful people. So it's a really positive working experience, and it's freed me up to then ask the question. All right, let's just pretend for a minute. I made all the money I need to make in my life. What do I want to do next? What's important to me? And that kind of brought me onto Dad's Strength.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, and we'll definitely get to the podcast because I thought it was very interesting. But like, why do we do that? And by we, I mean entrepreneurs in their first business, their first couple businesses. There is almost this drive to emulate the big guys to a fault. We want the Apple Store experience, even though we have lemonade stands. And there seems to be a switch at some point where we go, well, let's just be ourselves. Like what? Why do we strive to be the big guy? What happens that makes us cause the switch?
It's a really good question. I think it's doubt. I think when you don't know, I mean, we all know this sort of paint by numbers version of business, right? And you see people, sometimes you hear young entrepreneurs talking and they're like, I want to have like the new Google. I'm like, so you roll. That you're not going to just like in your part time, conjure up Google. So people sort of see this idea of whatever your version of success is, and that could be scale wise, that could be operational, that could just be the way stuff looks, right? It could just be the branding of it. People see
Mm-hmm.
that and they go, I want to feel like I've arrived already. If I had advice at this point for any kind of anyone starting out a new endeavor, a new project, a new labor of love, I would say like this is a beautiful time where it doesn't have to look like anything, and you have a lot of freedom. But it's easier said than done. You want it very quickly to look. You want your friends and your colleagues and your family to go, oh, he's serious about this.
Yeah.
This is real. And so you kind of want those hallmarks of professionalism. But I'll share something with you about the podcast. Um, when I was partway through my first season, I was introduced to a guy, and he's got a successful kind of businessy podcast. And he said, "Hey, my advice is this: listen to other podcasts, listen to what you like and you think is great, and then emulate that. You can just take that and you can copy it on." And I thought that was good advice, and I tried it for a short period of time, and very quickly I realized that I was never going to make anything truly authentic if I was always emulating other people. That's not to say like I'm going to make a radically different podcast than anybody else. If you're making shirts and you're making the best shirts in the world, they probably still got 2 arms and, you know, a neck hole and a bottom area. Like, it's not going to be that different. You know, even Gord Gartrell.
Yeah.
There's a deep Cosby cut, but that's okay.
No, I got you.
You got me. Yeah. It's not going to be that different. But what you can do is ask the question of what is really within this basic format, what is really important to me. What do I really care about? And even more importantly, I think, is like, what can we jettison? What can we get rid of that doesn't need to be here?
So let's listen to it. Dash Strength podcast, and people always ask about why start a podcast. And just for a bit of background, there's about 400,000 podcasts in the United States and North America. About 125,000 of those podcasts are active, and about 24,000 podcasts in any particular genre. And if you can think of a genre, there's many podcasts about it. But what was the moment for you going, hey, look, I'm splitting some of these plates. They're okay. They're kind of sort of wobbly. Let me add one more in the form of audio entertainment.
Yeah, you have to be so careful, right? And I love I'm as guilty or guiltier than most of just trying different projects. We've thrown a lot out. I think whatever you do. So here, you have to realize like there's no guarantee of success.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't. And so and it's a great filter when you think about it that way. What if this will never go anywhere? Right? It's not my wish, and it's not like I don't put a ton of care into these things. But what if it doesn't go anywhere? Would I be really frustrated? Would it feel like time lost? Would I be angry? And my answer to that is find a process that you love. Find something that has an inherent value. So that's why I said for me, I want to be a better father. I care deeply about that. I care deeply about sharing, what I know, because a lot of the messaging around health and fitness is messed up, is not helpful, and is preventing people from making small but important steps. So all that I care about a lot. And I thought, if I can spend time doing this, if I can get better at some of the things that I like to do, which is communicating, taking complex stuff and making it simple, right? At helping make this stuff relatable and, like, most importantly, actionable. Right. If I just work on these skills, even if the podcast itself is whatever, I will emerge from this experience. I know, and if I have conversations with great dads and interesting thinkers, and I learn from people like you, guess what? Hey now,
go on,
right? Like I'm picking up things from you just having this conversation, and I know I'm going to emerge from the process better. Now, will the ultimate product be this? I don't know, but it doesn't matter. I guess is for me is the heart of it.
Well, one of the cool things I liked about your podcast is that you take time. Well, we all take time to check in, but you were very public with your check-in. So you had a season worth of content, about 20 episodes, I believe, and you took a time to say, "Hey, look, here is my report card, a self-report card," which is really brave because in my brain, I'm either the best podcaster ever or the worst. There's no in between. And you're rolling into season 2. Is it a longer? Is it like navigating the Titanic of implementing these changes and notes, or is it something you can like quick implement? Like when someone realizes what they have to improve on, can it be a daunting task to put those things into practice?
Well, we both know it can be. How do we the question is, how do we manage that?
Yeah.
How do you manage uncertainty, and how do you live? Like, there's a real sort of tension in, I remember reading this, it really stuck with me. And I think I talk about it on one of the episodes. It's just like, if you start a new project, and you have real talent, you're going to hate your early work. And the reason is, you're going to when you hear great work or you see great work, you're going to recognize that you have good taste. You have a sense of this, and you're going to feel the gap between where that is and what your work is right now, because you just haven't built the skills up enough. So to prevent me, to prevent myself from constantly tinkering and trying to re-engineer it and second guessing, I kind of say, this is the format. This is what I'm going to roll with. And even when I hear things that I'm not 100% in love with, I make a note, I think about it, and I take that and I'll say, in the next season, and I've got 20 episodes to get through this. I figured my first 20 episodes were to work the suck out, really, to make all my major mistakes, commit all my greatest inefficiencies. So I didn't have time to polish anything, because I was just learning to do the thing. Once you've internalized, this is the kind of the ongoing building of skill, like once you've internalized some of this stuff, you get faster. And so you can either spend less time on it, or you can spend less time on the early stuff and now add another layer of depth. So, in the second season, I've only put out one episode so far. I am a lot more editorial about it. Now, one of the things I'm always sort of self-conscious about, not wanting to put myself at the front and center of this stuff, because I think I'm profiling guests, I'm highlighting them. But one of the pieces of feedback I kept getting was, well, a little more of you. Like, we'd like to hear more of you. So I was like, okay, I can put, it's either ego or a lack of ego. I don't know which one it is. I think they're kind of related. I can put that aside and say, okay, I'm gonna speak more. I'm gonna set these clips up. And what it's allowed me to do this time around is sort of distill what I think is really important about what my guests are saying. And then I can pontificate a little bit. I can give myself a little room to ramble. I hope.
Yeah.
And but it's like, we are building the car while we're driving it. It's good. It's all.
It's one of my favorite words, pontificate and postulate.
Yeah.
I say those all the time. And I'm from Brooklyn. So you've mastered, or you're working on mastering the physical aspect with your line of work. And then your show does touch upon a lot of the mental aspect of surviving and providing. But I got to ask you, when it comes together, how do you deal with burnout? I mean, you're creative and you expend your body day in and day out. What happens? You're just like, bro, I can't. I tap.
Yeah. It's funny. I've seen enough entrepreneurs just completely burn themselves out, and I've done it. In the first 5 years of this business, I smoked myself, and I needed a long recovery period. And if you have a weird, like, it's possible, right? Whether it was a parent or an authority figure or someone else, it's possible to have a weird adversarial relationship with someone where the emotional dynamic has been kind of messed up. You can do that to yourself. Your business is like, my business is my first child, right?
Okay.
And so it was a weird energy for a while, and I had to recover from that. But one of the messages I want to kind of share through all of this is, we think on a high level, and we have access to technology, and we get to do stuff like this. We're not even in the same country, let alone the same physical space, and we're having this conversation, and it makes it easy to forget that we are biological beings, and we are constrained by biology, by physiology, and understanding that we have cycles of wakefulness and sleepiness and alertness and inattentiveness and creativity, and just kind of plodding through, and knowing how, getting a better understanding for me of how my body works and how my mind works and what these cycles are, and to stop trying to ice skate uphill when my mind can't provide the sort of creative work or the precision that I need, and actually taking a break. So for a lot of the time, for me, like, when in doubt, self-care.
Right.
Right. So that's kind of how I manage it. And I've stopped trying to get blood from a stone when I can't offer a quality of work. I realize right away I'm burning myself out. Like, I'm really eating into my own recovery and regeneration, and the quality of work is not worth it. So I'm really cognizant about those cycles.
Man, when I read that you were, quote, like Mr. Miyagi, and Mr. Miyagi was written by Wes Anderson, I didn't believe it, but now I kind of do. That's pretty dope, man. Because
You really researched.
Well, yeah, man, you're a VIP on the show. Welcome to Amsterdam Radio, podcast for
You
creatives.
good people. That is my all-time favorite description or compliment. That was from I know exactly, that was from Graham Isidore. And I love that. I'm doing my best.
That's what all you could ask for, right? Is do your best, right? As my mom would say, she's super devout. If you've done your best, angels can't do more. She would always say that at the house. What does solo time for Geoff look like? Kids are put to bed. They've already done their homework. The business is closed. What are you doing? Is this all you time?
A lot of my solo time is during my working day. We used to run this place from 6:30 a.m. till 9 p.m. and people were in and out. And after the pandemic was tough. No big surprise on a gym. So we strip down the hours, and we do early morning stuff, and we do evening stuff, and there are a few things sprinkled in throughout the day. But a lot of the time here is quiet, which is what I need. I need that. And if people are in here, often I'll retreat. I'll find a coffee shop. I'm like, we're in Coffee Central, where I am. Queen West is my neighborhood. Is a great neighborhood. It's chock a block with great third wave coffee shops. And so I'll hide in the back. I'll grab a journal, or I'll bring my laptop if I need to. And I really do my best work in solitude. And so that's how I grab it. I'll exercise kind of as I need to. By the time I get home, one important change I made to my kind of lifestyle over the last year or so is I used to come home, like once I was smoked, I'd be like, okay, that's all I have.
Yeah.
And I go home. And now I've started saying, I'm going to end the day before I'm smoked. I'm going to leave some in the tank, leave some for my family, leave some to come home and do literally anything other than just kind of collapse on the couch. And that's been good.
So while you were saying the part of the neighborhood you are, I Googled the Queen West, and the first thing that came up was like, looking for coffee recommendations. And I was like, no, Google, I was just trying to, that's pretty cool that you actually know this high class stuff. Because I was, the few times I went, I was like around the University of Toronto area, and it was just all Starbucks and Timmy's, which was great. But like, you kind of wonder what was like the local craft. So like, I'm kind of glad there's actually a scene there.
What brought you down to Toronto?
Oh yeah, so many years ago when I was in corporate America myself, this is before my last job selling hand sanitizer door to door. I used to work as a marketer, content marketing professional, and there was a company out there called Uberflip that made content experiences, and they had their UberCon. The first year it was at University of Toronto. The second year it was at the CBC. Station, basically further down south. So I will go there in August and drink all the best British beer and realize it's as hot as New York, which is where I'm from, and then try to get our Blue Jays game, but they were always out of town. So I spent most of my time at the Sea Muscle Brewery. So it was kind of fun. Cool town.
Nice. Yeah.
It's like if Dallas and New York had a kid and a kid had manners, that's Toronto. That's what I felt like. Well, I mean, have you been out to Los Angeles or New York?
I have, yeah.
Thoughts about that?
LA is great. I've been to Los Angeles. I've been to Long Beach. Every time I go to California, I'm like, am I an idiot for not living in California?
Taxes are high.
Taxes are high. I don't know. Yeah, lots going on in the States right now. But it's undeniably beautiful.
Well, I would say that California or Southern California saved my life. I'm only telling you this now because you're in that space, but I used to be way heavier. I used to weigh, in fact, the original name of the show was 26 stone. I used to weigh 27 stone at my highest. To be living to a city where you can get quinoa year round and jog in January and not worry about your lungs, I mean, it's pretty awesome. I can't knock it.
The power of environment is tremendous. Like a lot of times we put these ideas of willpower on ourselves, like I've got to be more disciplined, I've got to have more willpower, and that's kind of like last on the list. The biggest change you can make is environment. If you are in a place like this where healthy food is made delicious and it's convenient, where you are more likely to walk than drive, where physical culture and just engaging in some kind of physical activity with friends is standard. I'm always yelling, like, normalize exercising at the airport, right? It's kind of like a weird and awkward thing. They're about to get on a 4-hour flight and everybody's just sitting down for an hour and a half beforehand. It's like, get up, like this is the last thing we should be doing, but it feels kind of socially awkward to do it. But if you're in an environment where if we walked into an airport and absolutely everyone, at the gate was on a treadmill, was skipping rope, was moving around, we would do that too. It would be it would feel weird not to. And that would have stuff like that has a huge impact on your health outcomes, how you feel, what you do, all that. Yeah. So
you're against 5:30 a.m. cheesecake and beer? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not against cheesecake and beer at any time of day.
Those at the time in airports and casinos. It's always like whatever.
Yeah, I'm against airport food. Because it's like the least satisfying, it's like the least enjoyable, it is the least nutritionally dense, it's just there's nothing in there, and it's wildly expensive. So I would never ever, if you love beer or you love cheesecake, I would never ever tell someone not to eat that. But like, let's get rid of the stuff that you don't like and is expensive and you never feel better after eating it. Like, let's get rid of that stuff first and see where we stand. Leave the things you love.
You know, like how there's a concept of like old money and new money, or like old rich and new rich.
Mm.
You could tell people who are like new healthy when they eat something and go, that wasn't worth the calories. Like, do you know how much work I had to put in to eat that cake? So
That's
dumb.
really funny. You're 100% right. Yeah.
Well, we're in 2 years post 2020. I don't want to say pandemic because depending on who you ask, either we're still in the pandemic or it's over. But what is next for you? You have the gym. It looks like it's thriving from outside looking in. You have the podcast going on. Of course, you're growing as a human being every day. What does Geoff want to accomplish in the back half of 2022?
That's a good question. It's always a little challenging to answer these. I don't want to overshoot. I don't want to undershoot. So second half of 2022,
Yeah.
we're gonna do another 20 episodes of the Dad Strength podcast. I guess I'm saying it publicly. I'm gonna work on a book.
Give it
Share
up.
this
Yeah.
stuff, condense it, get it out there, and just the business now for me is sort of this. It's I think of it like a Zen garden. It's good. I've stopped trying to there's the analogy of the guy trying to get his flowers to grow and he's just gently tugging them every day. It's like, it's good. There's a lot that's good here. I tinker. I've got a great crew, but I can let a lot of this run on its own, and just focus on the community, really taking care of people. The mechanics are fine, and just spend time with my family. Yeah.
Oh, that's great, man. I want to make it back up to the north, try to see a Raptors game or something.
Yeah.
Maybe check out Cabbage Town. I heard it's pretty historic. Why not? Geoff, this has been a pleasure hanging out here in New Amsterdam. Your perspective is going to be inspiration for a lot of people. But if someone's listening to you now and going, you know what? I want more. I want to lean into all things Geoff Girvitz. How can they follow you on social media? How can they listen to your podcast? How can they contact you?
Lean right in. Easiest way is dadstrength.com. You can follow the trail from there. You can write me an email, geoff@dadstrength.com. I'll get back to you. Yeah.
I think my best example of dad strength is when one winter where the boiler went out at home, and my dad somehow I went to play with my toys, but he somehow like unhooked the old boiler and chucked that one out in the street and had one coming. And like, by yourself, Pop? That to me was pure physical dad strength. Why I thought it was pretty cool. I saw your podcast.
100%. There's a lot wrapped in there.
Well, I would love to have you back later on just to talk about more things. This is New Amsterdam Radio, the podcast for creatives.
Thanks so much.